Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm speaking with JJ Eaton of the Louisiana Project. The band has just shared their newest EP titled When My Time Comes, and I am super excited to talk to them all about it. JJ, I want to thank you so much for coming out. How are you doing?
Uh,
What's
Oh,
up?
going great. Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. What's the news in your part of the world?
Just getting done with Thanksgiving.
Nice.
A lot of family time and
Yeah,
a little bit of
maybe
time
too
with some
much.
friends today. So, yeah.
Maybe too much family time. There's such a thing.
Depends on how much you like them.
That is true. That is true. You can't like them all, though. It's impossible.
Yeah,
Well, that's awesome. I hope you had a nice holiday, and obviously, I wanna dive right in and talk about this EP. It's pretty
sure.
incredible. I listened to it a few times through at this point, and the first thing I really want to get talking to you about is the lyricism and the songwriting. It's very
Okay.
strong. What is it all about? Is there sort of like an overarching message of the record?
Um, I do all the lyric writing myself, and
Nice.
you listen to a lot of music out there.
Yeah.
I guess I got to reflect on a conversation I had with the drummer last week.
Sure.
We were talking about how a lot of music it's produced to be radio friendly, and it gets to the point where the production and the appeal is it's all produced.
Sure.
And what that turns into is that turns into kind of like lyrics, your standard lyrics about my girl broke up with me, broke,
The same thing over and over.
exactly. And
Right.
that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
My thought was, being a little older in my years, I thought it would be better to write lyrics that had a purpose, or had a moral to the story, that someone could take something away from each and every song.
No, I really like that. I think there's too much manufactured kind of, whatever out there, whatever is going to get those radio hits. But I think the older you get, the more you want to talk about your personal experiences and the unique life that you've lived. So I hope that you've been able to impart that on this record.
Oh, absolutely. The majority of it has, each song has its own special meaning.
Sure, sure.
I go pretty far inside when I write a song. Um, I have a bit of a troubled, childhood, a bit of a troubled, early young adult life, and I think a lot of what I've been through comes out through it, because I've triumphed through all of that.
Yeah.
And so when I write lyrics, if I get into a dark place lyric wise, I sometimes have to remind myself, hey, don't just talk about the dark side, talk about how you pulled through this.
Totally.
And it's a bit of a challenge sometimes, because a song wants to stay dark, and you got to find a way that's not cheesy to come out and say, hey, I learned a lesson here, and maybe
Exactly.
this is good for everybody else to learn. So
Now, based on what the songs are actually about, do you find yourself crafting the sound of the song based on the tone of the story?
believe it or not, it's actually the opposite. I am a guitar player first.
Okay.
So I get in, and I'll just start strumming, and sometimes I can hear it in my head before I play it,
Hmm.
and sometimes I'll just start strumming chords and piecing things together, and they'll finally start to sound good after a few minutes. But I usually develop the sound of a song, and then I listen to it and think, okay, what does this song make me think of? What emotion
Ah, okay.
does this trigger? You know what I mean? And then once I do that, I will shape a song around it, around the idea. I'll say, oh well, I should cut out a verse there and make a more of a build up chorus, or something like that. Like, I will definitely shape the song around the idea after I get the idea.
That makes sense. Now, obviously, it's not just you and the band. You've got other members, correct?
Yeah, there's four other guys that are involved.
Cool.
We're all longtime friends. We've known each other since high school. A couple
That's
of us
nice.
before high school.
Oh, wow. Okay. Have you
Um,
been jamming together that long, or is this a relatively newer, project?
this is a new project.
Okay.
I got married back in 2004, and pretty much put my guitar away. I was playing like cover gigs with a friend of mine, and
Sure.
I just got to where I hated it. I was a jukebox. I was the background noise at bars, and
Yeah.
I didn't like that. That's not why I started playing. And unfortunately, I did fall out of love with music for quite a while. And back in, was it right before COVID hit, 2019, in like November, I just
Mhm.
started messing around, bought myself a little Tascam 24 track and started
Nice.
kind of throwing some things together, and it turned into what it is now.
Nice. So you were basically the catalyst for everything starting again, and then what, you called up the friends and said, "Let's do this thing."
Yeah. So my friend Mike, he plays the drums. We actually have two drummers on this, or there's three drummers on this
Damn. Okay.
EP. Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
it's a funny story.
Sure.
James and I have been pretty much best friends since I was 9. So it's
Okay.
been 36 years we've been best friends. And he's a drummer. So he's the one that plays drums on Dodging Bullets and Common Ground. And then my friend, he lives in Reno, but he and I always talk music for our whole life. Then my friend Mike lives down in Norco, which is only about 20 miles from me.
Okay.
And he has a recording studio, and he's kind of, dabbled as a hobby the whole time. He's the one that kept hitting me up. Hey, you been playing it all? Hey, what's going on? So when I came up with some ideas, I sent them to him, and then he got Jake involved, who's the other guitar player. Him
Mhm.
and Jake have stayed in contact. And then once it started to get some wings, then I called Rob, the bass player. He lives in
Okay.
Phoenix. So he does most of everything we're doing is remote. We did spend one session for this EP where everybody came into town for the weekend.
That's cool. And where are you based out of?
I'm in San Bernardino.
Oh, we're pretty close. I'm in
Oh,
LA. So
okay.
nice.
Yeah,
So then
I
why
grew up
why the
outside Houston
Louisiana
area.
project?
Okay, so that's a funny story. It's called the Louisiana Project. We had a friend growing up in high school. Sorry, the dog's getting in here.
That's okay.
We had a friend growing up in high school that his last name was Louisiana, and we used to get into a lot of trouble. And one night, I think I was probably about 16. Uh, one of my friends came over and said, "Hey, Brian went over the edge," and we thought,
Oh shit.
okay, whatever. We'd seen people do that before. Back in the '90s, everyone was dabbling here and there in different
Yeah.
things, and turned out he was the guy that was walking down the street waving at the air. Told my friend he thought demons were chasing him, and really, really, it really brought out the mental disabilities that he probably already had.
Sure.
And actually, the song "Demons Inside" was inspired about him.
Oh wow, okay.
And so, anyways, to shorten the story a bit, we thought he had passed away when I wrote the song "Demons Inside." And James, he said something on a Facebook post like, "Hey, this song's in memory." And someone reached out and said, "No, he's alive. He's still living." Yeah. So we had all thought he had passed
Oh
away. So it's pretty
no.
crazy. And so he
That's
called me and he says, I think we should call the band the Louisiana Project. And I said, well, what significance does that have? And he says, well, you walked away from music for 15 years. And now all of a sudden you find out music is still alive in you. And there's all this perseverance that has gone on through your life to get you to this point. And he says, it's just like Brian. We all thought he was just gone and withered away, but he's still alive, defying all the odds. And
wow.
so when he said that, it was the first time we really were like, you know what, that name means something to us more than it means something to other people.
No, that's a fantastic story. Kind of funny, kind of sad, but also
Right, right,
pretty
right.
great story, I gotta say. So
Yeah.
I want to sort of take a look at the future for you guys. Obviously, you're ending the year with this EP, and I want to keep the focus on it, but I want to, also take a look towards 2022. Are you guys the type of band that are always trying to put out something or, recording something new or floating ideas across each
Well,
other?
fortunately, I've built a recording studio now at my house over the last year and a half.
There you go. No excuses.
Right. And so I write, since this EP released, Wednesday before Thanksgiving,
Sure.
between the process of giving the tracks off to GFM Recording, who mastered it,
Hmm.
which was about 2 months ago, between the process of handing them this project off and now, I've got 6 more songs I think are to the point where we're actually ready to go out and record
Boom.
again.
There you go.
So,
What
and we
about the
are going to
thoughts of
start.
touring?
I'm sorry.
What about the thoughts of touring or, getting
Yeah,
that
we
going?
are actually starting to discuss getting together and starting to do some practicing.
Nice.
I've been practicing a bit more, just on my own. I think obviously with me doing all the songwriting, I'm the one that really has to get it down.
That is true.
The rest of the guys seem to have their parts down pretty well. So I got a bit of work ahead of me, but I'd say probably within the next 6 months, we'll probably be ready to get out and start doing some shows.
That'd be great. Yeah, I mean, definitely no rush. Best to build up the discography and kind of, build the fan base and get that thing going, but at the same time, try to have fun and not make it seem like a job.
Like exactly,
Right.
exactly. Well, and music is so different now. It's
Oh,
not like
geez,
it
yeah.
was. Well, when I was young, you went out and you ground pounded. You know what I mean?
Right.
You played show after show after show, empty rooms,
Yep.
maybe 10 people. Every once in a while, you'd get 100 people. But nowadays, you can build a following. Online. You can build a following through social media, through
Sure.
streaming music, through all that stuff. So it's a different approach than I've ever taken, but I like the potential here because we're seeing what the potential is before we actually go out and do some of the
Yeah.
legwork.
It's all data and analytics nowadays, but I'm
Yeah.
actually I'm actually super interested though, just considering you've got the experience of playing, 10, 15 years ago to today. Is there anything that you prefer about the release process today as of, compared to 10, 15 years ago?
Well, you have a bigger net now.
True.
You can, if you've got the money to put behind it, which we don't have a lot of money to put behind it, but just a little bit.
Sure.
I mean, it only costs what, $40 to pay for your distribution membership, and you can distribute as much as you want.
Yeah.
All the money's into the recording.
Sure.
So the distribution process is it's so much easier now. You can cast a big net for such a little price, where before it was like you go play a show, you're lucky if you got 5 people coming up saying, "Hey, I'm into what you're doing." You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, it's not as easy as texting everyone and now you got to call, or back then you had to call everyone, say, "Hey, I'm going
Yeah.
to be
Oh,
here, I'm
snail
going to be
mail.
here."
I remember
Yeah.
taking a mail list from snail mail. You know
Sure.
what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
mailing people out postcards about your next gig and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Just it's so much easier
Seems
now.
like a real pain in the ass, but
You had to really be a hustler. You know what I
that's
mean?
true. But
There's a
that's the
few
thing is,
guys that I knew
yeah,
that got far and they really hustled.
that's the toughest part about, I think, obviously I don't make music myself, but I see the process on a daily basis. It's like it's never been easier to make music in the sense that you can do it with any computer. You can just get some software and make something happen. But at the same time, it's also never been more, or it's always, or, sorry, it's been more difficult to get your music heard because everyone's making music.
Yes, there's a lot more of it out there, that's for
Yeah, the
sure.
competition is ridiculous, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
figure it out. So let's see. You like I said, you've been making music for a while now. You seem to be sort of the ringleader of the band in terms of songwriting and instrumentation. I want to know, is there something about the entire process that you look forward to the most? Whether it be that idea that pops into your head or just the relief of actually being done with something.
To me, I'm the type of person, I have to be writing new songs all the time.
Okay.
If I don't if I don't write a new song, you know, probably once every 2 weeks, I'm almost like disappointed in myself. I really have a very strong desire to continuously create new music.
Sure.
There was a bit of relief when this EP was done. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it was a lot of
Yeah.
work. It was 5 months, the whole
Yeah.
process, and there was a lot of learning in there. I mean, I'm new. I did a lot of the editing myself. I had some help from some other people, but I did a lot of the editing myself. I did a lot of that stuff myself, and I didn't know the program very well. So learning Pro Tools was probably what took the longest.
I'm sure.
But
No, I'm sure of it. It's a pain in the butt. Any of those programs, it's just like you got to watch YouTube video after YouTube video to try to
yes.
explain it.
Well, unfortunately, we got to, through a family member, I got to meet. His name's Antoine Arvizu. He was one of the co-engineers for Sublime's 40 Ounce to Freedom album.
Oh wow.
And we've actually become pretty close. I mean, we talk every week or two, we'll talk music. But when we went in there that first day, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was just there to record some music because I wanted to do it. And I told
Sure.
him, I says, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to ask you a lot of questions because I want to learn how to use Pro Tools. And he's like, absolutely. I'm glad to show you.
That's a good
So
person to keep around, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Jeez.
So we've been in there for, in the last year and a half, probably 6 or 7 sessions.
Okay.
And every time we go in there, I mean, I learn so much every time I go in there. And so through that process, he helped me with the edits on this EP,
Okay.
and he did some of the engineering on this EP as well. And through all that process, you learn quicker when you got somebody who knows the program really well.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's like learning another language, basically, but you figure it
Yes.
out. Time
Yeah,
and practice, you figure it out.
absolutely.
So, looking forward to, let's say, the next year of the band's life, hypothetically, what are things looking like if you had to sort of predict the next year?
Over the next year, we do have some news coming out in January that I'm not supposed to really talk about, but
You don't have to, that's okay.
there's a company getting involved that's going to start helping us.
Awesome.
Um, and that will be announced. Probably right after the first of the year. So once they get involved, I anticipate releasing, you know, a single every so often, periodically,
Nice.
and you know, just depending on what they are and are not okay with, we may do another EP like this in another 6 months. It just
Very
depends
cool.
on what we're going to be available to do.
True.
So, but I do anticipate being ready to start playing shows. I'm hoping by the summertime is my goal. So we'll kind of shoot from there. But over the next year, I would say live shows and hopefully another 10 songs. I'd like to do 10 songs a year if I can.
There you go. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks.
All right, I've only got a couple more questions for you at this point,
Sure.
but I want to know what you're listening to. I want to know if there's any even local bands that you can shout out that are doing big things, or just what's been on your playlist lately that you could recommend.
I to be honest, I've been so out of the music scene for so long that I'm not really familiar with a lot of the local
That's
bands.
okay.
Really what kind of got me back into music is I was never a fan of country music.
Hmm.
And I had a friend of mine kind of turn me on to country music a few years back. And yeah, some of it's really produced, just like you get into rock, anything like that. But there,
Sure.
a few stood out. The first one that really stood out was Eric Church.
Okay.
The guy can play the guitar, he can sing, he can put on a good show. I've seen him live a
Sure.
couple times. Chris Stapleton, huge fan of Chris
Yeah,
Stapleton.
he's great.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. And then I like Tyler Childers. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but
I've
he's
heard of him. Yeah.
really good. And then just some guys like that. Jamie Johnson, I'm kind of into they're country acts, most of them, but if you really listen, they're just guys just jamming on their guitar
Nice.
and singing what's in their heart. You know what I mean? It has
What it's all
nothing to do.
about.
Right. And the sound just comes out naturally. And to me, that's what's always been important.
I agree. It has to sound pure. It has to sound original and not, like I said, not like this manufactured radio pop stuff. Like there has to be heart and soul into it for it to actually like
Absolutely.
resonate. Great answer. All right, JJ, I've got one more question for you.
Sure.
What I want to know is basically for the person that is going to discover the band from this, and for the person that is going to listen to your guys' music for the first time, what is an opening message that you'd like to say to them before they listen?
I put everything I've got into this. Um, my heart, my soul. I've learned to be very honest with my background and with who I am internally as well as externally.
Hmm.
I've learned to be honest at all costs. Even if I expose myself and say something that could potentially expose something that maybe I've done that I'm not proud of. And I'm not afraid of that past. And the reason that I'm not afraid of that past is because I try to avoid making the same mistakes twice. And I hope that my music can reflect that. And I hope that that music can help other people be comfortable with being comfortable with themselves that much. Because that's a hard task.
Yeah,
Living with yourself is the hardest person to live with.
that is true. That is true. We all learn to do it somehow, but I understand. JJ, I want to thank you so much again for taking the time out of your day to do this. I'm going to plug you guys one more time and say the band is called the Louisiana Project. The EP is called When My Time Comes, and it's awesome. I hope everyone listens to it. It sounds like big things are on the way, so definitely, follow them on all their socials as well. But yeah, I'm personally invested at this point, so I'll definitely be keeping a close eye on what you guys are doing over the next 6 months.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Look forward to maybe getting on here again.
Absolutely. I look forward to it as well. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And yeah, I hope to speak soon. Thank you
All
again.
right. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take
Have a good
care.
day.
Bye
All right.
bye.
Bye.